We move on to Mike in Washington, D.C. Mike, your turn.
Yes, hi to everyone on the Kojo show today, and happy holidays to you.
Same to you.
Okay. In 1991, I was 17, and I was incarcerated for being in a robbery, being at the place. What I wanted to ask about was, one, it was forced consent that I had to submit my DNA sample to the penal institution, and two, during the course of my time, I was told that I would receive good time if I participated in a research study, which actually the good time did not happen, so on and so forth. So my two questions are, in light of North Carolina's recent ethical challenges, how is ethics applied to places like the penal system, where these people are forced to participate in DNA samples, and how can I find out what is being done with my DNA?
Are you referring to the eugenics and forced sterilization stuff that happened in North Carolina?
Well, because of that, that presents an ethical challenge independent of the question that I'm asking. The question that I'm asking is, because of the forced consent that I had to give my DNA because I was incarcerated,
yep,
how do I find out what is happening to my DNA? And because of the challenges ethically that North Carolina has raised, I'm very concerned about what's going to happen with my DNA.
So I think there's two issues, Mike, that you're raising. One is what happened to your DNA and whether or not you can have any control over that. And the second one is the research participation and what sounds like potentially a coercion of research participation, which I will let my fellow panelists address, who probably know more about research with prisoners than I do. In terms of DNA collection from people who are either accused of or who are found guilty of specific crimes, the laws vary from state to state in terms of the DNA that is required or not. In most states where DNA is taken from minors, the state law provides that the minor can request that DNA be removed from the system. And what's happening now, of course, is with shared law enforcement databases, that DNA fingerprint can be shared across the state and across the country. And so people can find samples at other crime scenes and be able to match that, or be able to even match that it's a relative of somebody who has provided a DNA sample. I believe in most states, but I'm not sure about North Carolina, whether or not you can get your sample withdrawn upon reaching majority.
Jerry Menikoff, can you talk about the coercive aspect of this? And
yeah. So, in terms of, Mike, you're sort of being forced to be in a research study or inappropriately induced to be in a research study by their promising to give you time off. We actually have, at least on the federal side, regulations that are very, very protective of prisoners. And by and large, I don't know the details, again, of what happened to you and whether or not, in fact, that study came under the federal rules. It could be that the federal rules don't apply. They don't apply to every single study. One of the major triggers is it funded by the federal government? But if it was under the federal rules, these protections are fairly robust and are specifically designed to not put prisoners in the situation of having to volunteer for studies precisely because they'll get
Mike, you don't know whether there was a federal study involved or not?
I definitely didn't get that level of detail.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your call.